If I say the words honor-based abuse, what do you think of? Do you think, I have no idea what that means? Do you think of underage women being taken to the home country and forced into marriage? Do you think of family members forcing daughters to stop studying or working? Do you think of the unthinkable, parents murdering their own daughters? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's all of those things and lots more that you might not know.
Sharam, Badtameez, Chee.
I'm Sangeeta Pillai, and this is the Masala Podcast, where we talk about all those things that we're not supposed to talk about as South Asian women. Sex, sexuality, periods, menopause, mental health, nipple hair, shame, and many more taboos. Welcome back to Masala Podcast, winner of 6 British Podcast Awards and the UK's biggest South Asian feminist podcast. Join me, Sangeeta Pillai, as we explore cultural taboos. Let's talk about all those things we don't talk about. This is a special episode on something really important: honor-based abuse. If you hear this and you think, nah, that's not for someone like me, listen up. Honor-based abuse, or HBA, happens to people like you and me. It happens up and down the country, in cosmopolitan cities like London. It happens to educated professional women and men too. So let's do what we always do on Masala Podcast. Let's grab a cup of chai, let's sit down and chat about it. If you're wondering what honor-based abuse means, well, it's anything that involves violence, threats, control, intimidation, or abuse. The key bit is that the abuser is motivated by the perception that the victim has behaved or may behave in a way which shames or dishonors the abuser or their family and the community, and does not follow the accepted norms of the abuser. The abuser believes they need to do what they're doing because otherwise their family's name or reputation will be destroyed or damaged within the community. That was the official definition of honor-based abuse, which I wanted to share with you all, just so you know. Before we go any deeper, I want to tell you a story. I was 18 years old. I lived with my family in Mumbai. It was a really hot day, around 3 p.m. I could feel the sweat dripping down my back as I got back from college. As soon as I walked into our little flat, I could smell something delicious frying. From the sweet smell, I could tell it was my favorite snack, Paramburi, banana fritters. My stomach rumbled. I put down my bag and I rushed towards my mother. She was frying the fritters. As I stretched my hand out to pick up a hot banana fritter, she swatted my hand away. And she said something that made me lose my appetite. "Don't eat that now. Go get changed because a boy is coming to see you." A boy. I backed away from my mother. Her words made me so anxious. My stomach was now churning. If you're Desi, you know exactly what that means. A boy only means one thing: a future husband. By this point, I was so upset because I had told my parents that I didn't want to get married. I wanted to finish university, to get a job, but they totally ignored my feelings and arranged for this boy to come and see me. What happened next? Well, I write about this in my book, Bad Daughter. I did something totally crazy, which meant my prospective groom ran away. It was really funny. But here's why I'm sharing this story. That day could have gone very differently. While my parents were very upset, they didn't force me into a marriage that day. They let me continue my education. And I know that a lot of girls are not as lucky as I was. How bad is honor-based abuse? Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't know much about honor-based abuse, or HBA as it's called. I had this vague image of strict parents forcing their daughters into marriage. But then I reached out to some organizations that do great work in this area, like the charity Karma Nirvana. I spoke to them and they shared some facts and figures with me. And frankly, I was shocked by what I found out. According to Karma Nirvana, just this 1 year ending March 2025, almost 3,000 honor-based abuse-related offences were recorded by the police in England and Wales. And remember, these are just the ones being reported. These abuses are shrouded in shame and in secrecy, so a lot of people are too frightened or too embarrassed to report it. HBA happens a lot more than you might think. The charity Karma Nirvana report that there's a 35% increase in HBA cases since 2021-22. The top 3 cities reporting cases were London, Leeds, and Bradford. There's more. In 91% of cases, the victims were female and 90% identified as heterosexual. 70% of victims were aged between 18 and 35. The most common ethnic groups contacting Karma Nirvana were primarily South Asian, but people from a wide range of racial and ethnic backgrounds reach out for support. While I was listening to these figures, I was horrified at how big the problem was and felt bad that I hadn't realized before. Karma Nirvana told me that the most common trigger for abuse reported was a history of HBA, 13%, followed closely by family disputes, 11%. And here's the bit that I found really staggering. For 10% of people reporting abuse, the trigger was simply being female, 10%. Simply being female. That makes me so sad that just being female in our culture could potentially single you out for abuse. Of course, there are other major triggers for HBA. Having a boyfriend or girlfriend, speaking to a professional, having an LGBTQI+ identity, wanting a divorce or separation, being perceived as too westernized, refusing an arranged marriage. While victims of HBA might seem distant and unconnected to your life or my life, the reality is they are just like you and me. I've been reading and researching a lot of real-life stories, women who've experienced honor-based abuse. But there's so much shame and stigma attached. I don't want to share any real names or information. This might make women feel more vulnerable. So what I've done is this. I've used some of the things I've learned from real victims to weave together some realistic stories for you, so you can understand how HBA impacts and affects the lives of so many women living in the UK today. Remember, all the names and incidents you're about to hear are fictional. Let's start with Lila's story. Lila always loved the smell of fresh rain on parched earth. It made her feel happy and alive. Lila stood outside the balcony of her grandmother's house, breathing in that fragrance deeply. This surprise trip that her mother had announced was turning out to be great fun, actually. Lila was 18 and hadn't been back to the home country for over 10 years. She loved it now, navigating the chaos of the local markets, belly bursting with all that delicious food. Her fingers stained purple from the jamun she just picked up from the cart. Her laughter echoing against the clatter of the rickshaws. "Lila, it's so good to see you happy here." Her mother's voice made Lila turn around. "I think you're going to be even happier when I show you something." Lila's mother spoke and smiled at her. She pulled Lila's hand, taking her to the room right at the back of the house. They entered the room, and Lila realized she hadn't been to this room before because it was tucked away right at the back of the main house. This room, it was large and so quiet here. She looked around. and noticed heaps of shining things on the bed. Excited, she rushed towards the bed. Gosh, there were so many gorgeous saris, shimmering, catching the light. And look, boxes and boxes of jewelry. Lila excitedly picked up the boxes, each blue velvet box revealing shining treasures. So beautiful, she said. Who's all this for, Ma? She asked her mother. Mother smiled and said, They're for you, beta, to wear at the wedding. Lila said, Whose wedding, Ma? I didn't realize we were going to a wedding. Lila's mum. Her smile disappeared from her face. She stepped closer to the door. Then, as if squaring her shoulders, Lila's mother locked the door. She turned around. She looked straight into Lila's eyes and said, Your wedding. Your wedding is in 2 days' time. Lila just froze. Everything in the room seemed to freeze too. She could see the dust motes hanging in the air. She could hear the ticking of the ancient grandfather clock on the wall. It was like she had lost the ability to speak. All she could do was stare at the little window outside, where a sparrow was hopping up and down on the branches of a tree. Lila dropped the jewelry box, the velvet jewelry box on the floor. Her mother continued, The preparations are done. Her voice was now flat and stripped of its earlier warmth. Lila, your wedding is in 2 days. It's a good match. The boy is from a good family. Their family has been friends with our family for generations. Lila interrupted, But Ma, I've never even met him. And I'm just starting university. This is a joke, right? Tell me it's a joke, Ma. The words tumbled from Lila's mouth. Her voice now held panic. Mother said, This is serious, Lila. This is important. Just trust me. Lila stood up. The silk of her dress now snagged on the wooden chair. I'm not doing this, Ma. I'm not doing this. I'm calling the embassy. I'm going back to London. Lila ran towards the door, but her mother was faster. Her mother's hand clamped down tight on Lila's wrist. You, Lila, are not going anywhere. Your passport is gone. Your phone is at the bottom of the pond. Lila started shouting, You're insane! You're insane! The sound of her voice tore through the quiet house. You can't force me. This isn't a movie, Ma. This is my life. Her mother turned and hissed at her. Lila, this is our family's honor. You have been too loud, too free. It's time to grow up. Lila tried to dash towards the door, but her mother shoved her back. The older woman stepped out of the hallway, shut the door behind her. It was a heavy teak door. It made a massive sound. The sound of the iron bolt sliding into place was so loud. Ma, open the door! Lila's voice kept shouting, thrashing against the wood. Her fists bruised against the grain. Her mother just kept walking away and away and away. What does HBA look like in real life? What does HBA mean for those who experience it? According to Karma Nirvana, the most commonly reported type of abuse was coercive control, 31%, which means continuous behavior intended to control somebody, taking away their independence or making them feel isolated or scared. Then there's emotional abuse, 30%, physical abuse, 21%, while financial and sexual abuse each represent 7% of cases. Let's unpack this so we understand. A lot of victims of HBA experience domestic abuse as well as threats of forced marriage. So there's physical abuse, there's coercive control, emotional abuse, financial and sexual abuse. Once again, while this might sound like something you read about in the papers, it could be happening to one of your friends or family members. I've created a story about a woman named Sonia, so you can see how it could all unfold. This is Sonia's story. The kitchen was filled with the smell of freshly baked bread. Sonia took out the hot bread tin from the oven, carefully using the bright yellow gloves to place the tin on the kitchen countertop. Sonia loved Sunday afternoons. Nothing to rush to, nowhere to be. Sunlight danced on the countertops, and the scent of warm bread hung in the air. Sonia brushed her fringe away from her eyes. She caught her reflection on the shiny countertop. She decided that she loved her new hairstyle. She was so glad that she'd persuaded the hairdresser to try something different from her usual trim. Sonia smiled and reached for the butter. That's when Rahul entered. Her smile faded. Rahul didn't shout. He didn't need to. He simply stood in the doorway, his presence taking up all the oxygen in the room. "The blue dress, Sonia?" he asked, his voice deceptively soft. Sonia froze, her hand hovering over the countertop. "I thought," she said, "I thought this was good for your parents' anniversary dinner tonight. You said you liked the color blue." Rahul walked over, his footsteps loud on the hardwood floor. He tucked a stray hair behind her ear, his touch lingering just a second too long. "I love the color blue, but that slit at the hem, Sonia. I'd hate for people to get the wrong idea about the woman that I married." Sonia stuttered. It's just a dress, Rahul." She felt the familiar tightening in her throat. Words dry, she couldn't swallow. "Of course it is," he whispered, moving behind her, standing too close, stirring the aloo gobi that she'd been simmering on the stove. He picked up a spoon, tasted, clicked his tongue. "A bit too salty, darling, like your tone just now. Why are you getting so defensive with me? You know I'm only looking after you." Rahul reached into his pocket, placed her phone on the counter. It was face down. He had cleaned it up for her again. He had deleted the apps that would waste her time, the friends who drained her energy, he said. He said, "I told Sarah you couldn't make the spa weekend. We need the time, darling, to connect. You've been so scattered lately, Sonia. I'm just trying to help you stay focused." Sonia looked at the phone, then at the locked back door. The house was beautiful, a curated mix of expensive, soft textures and high-end finishes. Her life looked so perfect from the outside. The dream home, the handsome husband, the doting in-laws. "Go change into the salwar kameez," Rahul said. "I got it for you yesterday," his hand resting on her back. "It's modest, it's elegant, it shows you belong to a respectable and honorable family. I'll fix the sauce while you do that." As Sonia walked towards the stairs, she felt about 100 years old. There were no bruises, no broken glass, no broken skin, just this suffocating weight she felt all the time now. As she climbed the steps one by one to the bedroom to get changed, she looked at herself in the hallway mirror. When did she become so small? When did she shrink so much? Why do women stay despite the abuse? In all my research, do you know the one fact that made me really shocked? I learned that most honor-based abuse is done by those closest to the victim, partners or ex-partners or parents. And this is even sadder. Many victims who experience abuse continue living with their abusers because they're too frightened of the consequences of seeking help, or they're not aware of their legal rights, or the fact that confidential help is available freely to them. Then, of course, there are those two little words that mean a whole lot in our communities: shame and honor. So many women stay because of the fear of bringing shame and dishonor to the family. Honor, what a word. I've heard that word in my own family since I was a little girl. Even before I could articulate my feelings properly, I had understood that my behavior or actions as a daughter reflected on the honor of my family. What a burden to place on a young child. Then there's that other word, shame. Anytime I hear it, I feel that word in my body like a heat under my arms. It is physical, it is visceral, like a smell that clings to my body and my clothes. Once again, how cruel to place the burden of shame on young women. So what can we do? I hope you think a bit differently about honor-based abuse now. I hope you see that it can happen to anyone, women like you and me. In fact, many people experience honor-based abuse without knowing it has a name, because it might not feel like abuse at first. It starts so small. Perhaps pressure about the clothes or the makeup you wear. It might be objections around the kind of friends you have. It might be shutting down your career choice. It might be totally rejecting your choice of partner. You might ask, well, that could happen to anyone. How do we know that it's honor-based abuse? Well, the clue is right there. One word: honor. When you are made to feel that your choices will bring dishonor or shame to your family or community, that's when you know it's HBA. If those close to you make it sound normal, saying, oh, this is just our culture, that's HBA too. Remember, culture is not static. It's a moving, growing thing that adapts and changes as we change. Honor and reputation may be used as an excuse to justify abusive behavior, but no belief or expectation should ever be used to control someone's life, relationships, or choices. It's important for me to say this. Remember that being controlled, threatened, or harmed in the name of honor is a violation of your human rights. It's recognized in the UK law as honor-based abuse, and you do not have to accept it. If you experience anything that feels like HBA, or if you see a friend or family member or colleague experiencing honor-based abuse, confidential support is available. I've listed all the details for free helplines and charities in the show notes of this episode. You'll find it right at the top. Before I leave you, I'd like to say something important. We come from a rich, beautiful culture, colorful culture, an ancient and wise culture. We should be proud of and enjoy all of these parts of our culture. But pressure, control, and fear are not traditions to be passed down. We are better than this. We will be better than this. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any comments, reactions, or questions after listening to this episode, drop me a DM on Instagram at soulsutras or email me. The email address is email@soulsutras.co.uk. Remember, you can share this episode among family and friends because you never know who might need this right now.
Besharam, Badtameez, Gandhi, hi, bad beti.